Hey everyone, this is Grandmaster Mac Molnar back with another video here. And in today's game, we're going to be looking at a game known as the Ukrainian Immortal Game. We actually just looked at the Polish Immortal Game not too long ago between Glucksburg and Najdorf. And we're going to be moving to a close by country to the Ukrainian Immortal Game today between someone named Yefim Korchmar versus FC Poliak. I actually don't know a ton about both of these players. Korchmar was, I think, a pretty strong player for his time period. This game happened in 1937, once again in the Soviet Championship. Seems like there's been tons and tons of great games played in the Soviet Championship throughout the years. And here's another one, but this one was played in Ukraine, and I believe Korchmar was also born in Ukraine, so perhaps I'm not sure which detail there gives the game the proper title with the Ukrainian Immortal, but maybe it's both. Either way, it's a fantastic game, and it'll be over quickly, but there's some beautiful tactics and ideas that we'll see along the way. Okay, so Korchmar is playing the white pieces here, and we actually start out with the Spanish game. So it starts out with a pretty standard opening. And nowadays, we also see the Italian game a lot at very high levels of chess. The Spanish game has been played so much, and there's also a lot of really strong defenses against the Spanish game, which are particularly a pain to deal with, especially openings like the Berlin and things along this kind of line. Also, the Morphy defense with a6 is also very reasonable. That could lead later on to, let's say, the Marshall Gambit, something like that. But in this game, his opponent plays pawn d6. So this, I think, is the Steinitz defense. It's a pretty old-fashioned opening here. It's definitely not as modern as kind of counterattacking moves like knight f6, which Kramnik made very popular. But this is just kind of a much more defensive setup. It guards e5. Probably Black at this point was worried about maybe a potential capture sometime in the near future, removing a guard from e5. But Black would usually take back, and this isn't the biggest concern. For instance, let's say if a6 here, take. If White captures, Black has this nice double attack on e5 and e4. So this pawn's not really at risk right now. Black can afford to play a little bit more actively, but yeah, this d6 move is definitely quite defensive in nature. White just responds actively, fighting for the center. I want to point out here that a move like bishop takes c6 looks kind of tempting because now at least e4 has been guarded an additional time. But it's not working out so well after bishop takes c6, bishop c6, take. And this bishop here is at least attacking e4 an extra time. So the center opening up is going to be in Black's favor here. They have the bishop pair. And yeah, White's not going to be, he's not going to be winning material here after knight takes e5 anytime soon. Okay. So let's go back. So White castles, Black takes. And in general, it's good for the defending side, especially when you're a little bit cramped to be trading pieces. So as we see over the next few moves, at least Black is able to exchange some pieces. This usually means that you're able to maneuver more easily. Your pieces aren't fighting over the same squares when you have less space, if you're able to trade. So it does in general help, but at the same time, this queen for White is taking this really active placement. And yeah, Black's not really under less pressure here. White still has this potential maybe to open the center up even more with a move like e5. So they're still kind of cramped here from Black's point of view. So Black starts with bishop e7, and clearly they want to castle the right way. They want to castle the right way. With that in mind, White tries to prevent this option. They play rook to d1, and it doesn't entirely stop the plan, but at least when you see what your opponent's up to, chances are if you can make a productive move that helps kind of create some problems for your opponent's intended idea, it can be a really good way of, number one, making your position better, but also limiting what your opponent wants. The idea here is that as soon as black castles, white's playing e5 and taking advantage of this nice firepower on the d-file and the fact that this king is not going to be defending the queen anymore. So black just, sees it still has the best option to castle here. It's, makes sense. Queen e6 actually might have been an interesting choice as well, trying to get off the d-file here, preparing a castle in the near future, but it's not going to solve all of black's problems, that's for sure. So black starts with castling, and white plays e5, just following through exactly with the plan. Black plays knight e8, and yeah, not the dream square for this knight here, but at least it reinforces the pawn. And if black gets a few moves, they're going to try to reorganize their pieces, maybe get the queen off the d-file somewhere, most likely to e6. That seems like the safest place. We'll also pressure e5 here. So they're hoping with a little regrouping to get their pieces back in the game here, untangle, get the knight off the back row once the e5 pawn is exchanged. So white is really kind of in the mindset right now to just use this activity they have, this development advantage, to strike quickly, cause some problems fast before black can manage to unravel some of these problems here. So he starts with bishop f4, just developing quickly, not wasting any time, continuing to play with a lot of energy. Black plays a5, which is interesting. The thinking here is to bring the rook up to a6. Maybe it will be useful defending the pawn here, or maybe we'll find a more active role. Maybe black wasn't convinced that this knight is getting unraveled anytime soon, so there needs to be something else done about this rook in the corner. White says, if you can do this, so can I. So he's thinking if black's planning to rook lift, why not do the same? And it's an interesting idea here. It also would have been a good idea to just quickly place both rooks on the center file. So playing rook e1 would have been smart. This helps to add extra pressure down this e-file here, and it also prevents one of the ideas mentioned before, which was queen e6. So now it's going to be very difficult for black to untangle their pieces. If they move the queen in line with this rook here, there's a major issue. White's simply taking, and black loses everything. Just queen's under attack. Next turn, this is up here. So that's no good. So rook d3 was an interesting choice. Rook e1 might have been a tad bit better. Black plays rook a6. They commit to this plan. White improves their last piece, bringing it to e1. And now we can just kind of fully admire this development from white. Every piece is active, participating, and playing a nice role in the game so far. White's going to improve their pieces a tiny bit more and then launch an offensive. So black plays queen f5, white plays knight d5, obviously making a really crushing threat here, so black must deal with it. The bishop is hanging on its own, but not even that. It's also going to fall with a fork. So black plays bishop d8. And here's a moment where white has basically achieved complete and total development. And this is a time I usually recommend to students that you look for some kind of really active offensive idea, because your pieces are pretty much as well positioned as possible at this point. So you should be looking to do something forceful before your opponent manages to neutralize where your pieces are or kind of catch up in development. And that's exactly what Korchmar does here. So he starts by taking. This is nice because it increases the activity of the rook. Also, the queen starts to eye the g7 square, which is going to be very important. The knight captures on d6, and white plays rook g3. So this is coming with a very obvious threat, but the way that white goes about handling the attack from here is just spectacular. So it starts out kind of with this very easily recognizable threat, but it's going to get much more flashy soon. So black stops the attack with f6. I think it's the best move, but unfortunately for black at this point, with some really accurate attacking moves, actually their defenses are pretty much ruined at this point. So white starts with bishop h6, increasing this pressure, taking advantage of the pin here. So black has to do something to stop this attack. He plays rook f7. And this is the moment where I would encourage people to stop and think, try to figure out what white played in the game. This is where the true genius of the game starts to pop up. So hopefully you took a moment, and if you were able to think about it a bit, maybe recognize that the back rank at this point is very weak. This rook is committed to defending the g7 pawn, but it also needs to be available to block a check here. And this is going to cause black some major issues. This rook could be overloaded. And one way to take advantage would be to try to get this rook down to e8. Although we have a problem here. You can't do it right now because the knight's here. So this is going to bring up a couple of trigger some tactical thoughts here. And you would want to look for moves which are going to start targeting this knight on d6, either eliminate the knight, remove the guard, or you could deflect it away by attacking it, or maybe overload it by capturing something it's defending. Here, the simplest thing to do is get the knight out of the way while making a threat, getting ready to actually sacrifice the queen on d6 here. So white starts with knight b4. Just kind of a shocking move, especially if maybe someone isn't seeing this back rank issue. To have your opponent play knight b4 would be quite a shock. It just send a shockwave through your system, I bet. So in the game, black does take. This it's not going to be a good enough defense, but black's in big trouble anyway, because this is obviously attacking the rook, and if they lose that, they're going to be down material under a big attack. Not to mention, there's still a threat to just take the knight anyway, which we're going to see. So, black takes. White captures on d6. And firstly, we should look at what happens if black takes it. So let's say they capture with the rook, for example. White's going to play rook e8. Black has to block. White plays rook g7. The king must go to the corner. And now white seals the deal with this kind of ladder style checkmate. Pretty nice setup here. Beautiful attack crashing through. So black tries a move which looks very reasonable. So he plays queen d7. And it looks like black is holding on. And maybe white has lost some of their initiative. They've kind of missed out on this nice attacking setup that they had. But white finds an even more beautiful move, in my opinion, with their follow-up. And once again, I would encourage you to stop, pause your videos, think about what white could do here. It's really nice. And okay, we're going to continue here. So white actually plays queen d5, just moving the queen to an undefended square. It's a beautiful idea. So the thinking here is that this rook has been a key defender preventing this capture on g7 this entire time. Still, this queen is not able to move away from the e8 square and capture. So with this move, white's just establishing this threat to take the pawn. Unfortunately for black, they can't take it, like I mentioned, so they're stuck trying to find some different defense here. I didn't spend much time analyzing this move, but I'm assuming here if black plays g6, due to the fact that there's no more threat on the bishop here, that actually now would be a good time to shift the focus, bring this rook back to the e-file, and white is going to be ready to deliver this crushing blow on the back rank. There's really nothing that black can do about it. They can't really put anything in the way. They're just going to take. I think rook e3 here just finishes black off. So that's not a good option. In the game, he tries king f8. White takes, black captures the queen, and now white finishes the job with one last nice touch to this entire combination. He plays rook g8, nice sacrifice, double check, black must capture it. Black actually resigned here, but the game would have finished like this. Beautiful, beautiful attack. And I think this is just a really classic example of how to conduct an attack. Activate all your pieces as soon as it's ready. Don't waste any time. Head to the king. And to top it all off with this kind of imagination is always really beautiful to see. So hope you enjoyed the game. Please like and share the video, or come check out more videos like this at grandmastermac.com. I'm happy to have you there. I'll see you all next time. Take care.